All right, this is one of the things I've been wanting to address for a while now. I don't feel 100% confident in the rear control arms I made. A couple years back, I would say a year or two ago, I already took this one out. It's over here on the table, and it looks great. It's all chromoly, and it's from used BMX forks, which at the time I sent it because it's all I had for tubing, and I was being cheap, and I was overly confident that this would work, and I still think it will work, but I just don't want to take that chance. It could crack. All right, main reason is I think the tubing is too thin. Now, these are an old pair of BMX forks, and they hold up for bikes perfectly. These are actually, well, these are S&M forks, but they're really good. They're chromoly, heat treat, all that good stuff. And as you can see, it has the same bend there, and that's where I kind of use them for that. Now, the only issue, well, I did just say it's too thin. Look how thin this pipe is. And this being chromoly, I always feel like this stuff will crack before it bends. And I'd rather, if this was to fail, I'd rather it bend before it cracks and my wheel goes flying off and I ruin the whole car. So I'm using this DOM tubing. It's not chromoly. I think it's just like a mild steel or whatever, but it's DOM tubing. I'm going to be using this stuff. It's a lot thicker. I forget how thick it is. I bought this a while ago. And I do have my old jig still here. And I'm going to just be redoing both sides completely from scratch again. And this is where we begin. I got these bushings online. They only come in, well, they come in different sizes, but I need a size as close as possible to those. And these are a little bit longer, which is fine because I can just mill them down, which I already did. Well, not that one, but I did this one, so you can see it's a little bit shorter. And they fit perfect in this back section here. And the other thing is, yeah, it's still a stock one. These stock ones have a 1/2 inch hole, and the bolts that run through it are 12 mil. So I had to go and make my own dowels here. And what I used was old, here we go. I had some old axle bar tube. No, that's not a tube, it's a bar. But yeah, I have old axle shafts here, and I've been using that to make these inners. And it works pretty good. Those are the old ones, and the left one is the new one. And it's a lot shorter. So I got these a little bit bigger than what I had to because I knew I could just turn them down rather than add material to them. So I did 3 of them. I got one left, which is this one. I have all the pins already. I just basically gotta take the bushings out, take about a 1/4 inch, 7 millimeters off that, maybe 6 mil, probably a little bit more. Actually, I gotta grind down 2 of them. But you get what I'm saying. I gotta just take these down, put the rubbers back in, and then we can start there. And then I can start working on some bends and whatever I need to do to make it fit that jig. right, so out with the old and in with the new. The old ones had a better looking sweep here. I agree, it does look pretty good, but I'm gonna just save some time and just do a straight piece, as you'll see shortly. All right, so this is the same jig that I used a year or two ago. Probably, it was at the very beginning actually. I think it was probably 2.5 years ago. But anyways, still have the jig. I kept it, and I'm gonna reuse it, and I'm gonna just kind of build it the same way I already did, but with the new tubing, a little bit stronger and a lot better. The way I'm doing this might be a little different, so I'm gonna start by just making a quick notch first of all in the pipe, and I'm gonna go off of that. I'm gonna square it up in my bender, and I already have these marks laid out on the side here as I already did the driver's side control arm. So I'm just gonna mimic it and do it on the passenger side here. But I have my marks here so I can go reference to. It's gonna be the second line. So that's what I'm gonna make my first bend to. And then once I get that bend there, I can kind of eyeball it and get a rough estimate of where I need to cut this pipe. And then I can start working out the other notch. I don't know the angle off of hand, as my notcher doesn't have angles, it just has a bunch of lines that I can reference to. But yeah, so I basically gotta find the angle and kind of guess in a little way. But I cut my pipe bigger than it has to be. That way, if I do mess up, I can switch my angle a little bit, and I can dry fit it a bunch of times. Don't want to go for it right off the rip. I always like to do a couple test cuts and slowly work my piece in until it fits snug and where I like it. So that's how I'm gonna do that. Now that I have all my test pieces, I can start tacking this up together. So I got a bunch of tacks going on here, and then I dry fit it in the car, and then I pull it back out, and I finished welding these two full bars here. And as you can see, it is in the car still, and I have the joints on the end still just tacked in, because you kind of have to weld them without the bushings in here, and I like to weld these last. If you weld them right off the rip, you have a chance of them like turning or twisting a little bit. Asking me how I know on the other side. So it was a little bit of a dilemma, but I got it straightened out. No big deal. I had to like do a little bit of surgery, but you wouldn't even be able to tell. It all dry fits pretty good. It's actually pretty snug for what it is. Nice. Yeah, let me get this control arm back out. We'll get the bushings out, and then we'll weld it together on the bench over there. See if I can do this one-handed with my foot in here. There we go. So you can imagine getting this spacing is more challenging than it might look, because every time when you weld these in, it kind of pulls it tighter. So you have to do like little spaces on the inside so you can get this not to fit too tight, if that makes sense. But that's why I welded these two completely fully, because now if I had to adjust these, I could just cut the tack and just slide them over just a little bit, or I can face some of the rubber down, one or the other, depending on how bad it is. There's one. All right, and there's the other one. I should just... Alrighty. So there's that one. I will say the welds come out really good. This is all TIG weld on every side here. Back side too, no cheating. Happy with that. I think it's gonna be pretty strong. So yeah, I'll get these fully welded up on here. Then I'll fit it back in the car, and then I'm gonna have to do my little brackets for the push rods and the sway bar connector. All right, going back to these bushings here on the end here. Earlier, or just a little while ago, you saw me putting these in the lathe, and I just milled them down. Now, I didn't go too crazy. I just need them to be pretty much as flat as I can get, because after, well, if you can kind of see they were already, they're not perfectly like flat in a way or perfectly round. They're like a bowl shape in a way. And I just wanted to get like a flatter surface, so when I connect these pipes, I could weld them to it. They don't have to be perfect, and I don't want to take down any more material than I have to, so I left a good amount here, but enough just to make it so after I do my notch, it'll fit this pipe or this bushing as tight as I can possibly get it before we weld it up here. Now these grease fittings, I don't know if I'm gonna use them or not. I'm gonna leave that for now because I don't have them in the back. They're different kinds. And to buy these, they were cheaper to get them with the heim joints already connected to them, as you saw me cut them off. Yeah, long story. But yeah, I'm not gonna use the grease fittings, I don't think. I'll leave it up in the air. If anything, I'll just fill it up with weld and leave it be. Alrighty guys, I think that's it for the control arms. Just got them buttoned up here. Well, I still need to do my brackets for the shocks and sway bar, but for now, the bushings are on. right, guys, that's pretty much going to do it for the rear control arms. I'm pretty confident overall how this is going to work. Next video, we'll get like a little test run or a little test drive out in the parking lot. You might have already seen it on Instagram. So I am way past this already, but yeah, appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Hopefully this works out. Peace out.